The turning of the stars bring a time when my secret can give you immortality. But when that time is past, those fleeting minutes gone, the secret is worthless. Till once again the stars unlock its power.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Cathexis. Back with well, got a new look. I got an intro. I've got some fancy things going on. Not really, it's just OBS. But I'll tell you what, it's a pretty powerful program. And this is my first rendition, so to speak. So just out the gate, if you like the way this is, if you don't like, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to be adding to it. I'm just going for functionality right now, so people can look at something nice. And I did a video last night with audio in the soft, nice music in the back, but it was a bit too distracting. I knew I would have gotten some negative responses, so I'm redoing the video. But I hope everyone is doing well. And I think that I mean, really, the reason why I'm doing the videos is kind of an addendum to my last video. You know, with the very interesting things that happen. You know, people all worked up over you know, something important that seems to have occurred in the sky. I am, for one, trying to add information to the equation so that we can make a proper assessment of what it is that we're looking at. And two, I really just want people to think critically about this, about what we are perhaps looking at, what it means to who and why and for what. I think that it's extremely important. Extremely super important. Seriously, this is, you know, if you believe in the Bible, it doesn't matter. If you you know, you're an atheist, that's great, that's fine, whatever. But this did happen. There's something that happened in the sky, and it matches up to some letters in the book. Okay, so I think it's important to at least understand it, as to what it may be and why it's there. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add my perspective and my research to it. Before I get into that, I do want to give it an update on everything. As you can see, I'm moving forward with some technical, you know, some new toys and some new ways of presenting things. And I have several topics that I've written down that I'm just going to do a bunch of videos on. I'm going to start producing relevant content, and mainly in like esoteric and mystical. That word's been so tainted. Spirituality based. That's another tainted word. Concerning spiritual systems and consciousness and mind control, and these are the things that I find most valuable for people to kind of get a better picture of, to be able to understand their own paradigm and help other people with their own paradigm. Okay, that's really what we're out here doing. I mean, if you look at what's going on YouTube, my goodness, everybody is just wrecking people's paradigms left and right, and they seem to be doing it with no concern. It's very strange, actually. Go watch, you know, there are some YouTube videos that I am just blown away by. That one, that somebody believes this, and that two, the guy's got 80,000 subs or whatever the case is, and this guy is just blown. Like, take like FEMA camps, they're coming to kill us, they're putting us in the cages and all this, and I was just like, that type of every single day, day in, day out type of hysteria, that affects people. That messes with their minds. And so the reason why I bring it up is because this is what we need to avoid. We need to be able to communicate with each other without blowing up paradigms, without messing with people's heads. And we do that through information, disclaimers, a respect for somebody else's reality filter. And that's the thing, people say that, and I'm grateful for these positive comments. People say that I'm extraordinarily diplomatic, that I have this ability to meet people where they're at and bring them along to a different reality filter. And I do that because I do it to myself constantly. So I kind of have a knack for it. I've done that at least a couple dozen times to myself. But what I've noticed though is most folks don't even know they're in a reality filter, let alone be able to identify it and the contrasts of that filter relative to somebody else they're talking to. That's why I think it's so important to think. Not the only thing is, it's not the only thing that's so important is to think like that, but I think it's important though to at least recognize this aspect of human communication, human interaction. Where is that person at in relation to me? How can I meet that person where they're at? How can I meet them in the middle? Do they have diplomatic skills themselves? Am I going to have to go a little further than normal, kind of thing? These are, at least in my opinion, that's the way that we should be respecting each other's, particular paradigm, their axioms, the reality filter. So I've kind of written up a disclaimer, and I'm going to begin saying this. I might even write it out on a card and put it up really big, okay? So here's my disclaimer. I in no way am responsible for your reality filter. You must work very hard to cultivate and prune it with the information you accept as being true or false. This takes discernment and requires a mental vigilance. All I am offering is my perspective and information. If you cannot handle having your worldview potentially changed, then do not listen to this broadcast. I cannot stress this enough. Please. I am not here to wake people up, whatever the hell that means, okay? I am here to exchange interesting ideas with people who are willing to have that interaction, okay? I am highly responsible for my worldview and my filter. And I've been taken on a couple rides, but my own initiation of it, and that's the right word to use. Everybody's initiating each other into all the secrets of the universe. And now you got people thinking that, we live on the inside of a cellular system and that the sky is glass. And, that's real. There, I could show you a couple dozen people who think that. And I bet you they believe it and they feel it when they walk outside. See, that's how powerful reality filter is, It's amazing, actually. Belief is a very amazing thing. The structure of those beliefs, those presuppositions of axioms, will designate how you even interpret data, how you even receive data, even. So, I find it extremely important to speak about these things. I don't see many people doing it, and I really just want to help people. That's it. Like I said, I'm not out here to wake people up. I'm out here to share information so that it may help them in their path somehow. If I get somebody to think and it puts them in a different path and they're willing to go down that path, well then great. That's fantastic. But that's not my intention. That's what I'm hoping everybody understands here. That this is just an outlet for me to express myself concerning research and perspectives that have become important to me in those time frames, because I'm kind of an erratic researcher at times. But anyways, also the book, I actually have finished writing it. This is the book on nutrition and diet. I have finished writing it, editing it for the most part. I'm going to get a third party on it to take a look and see what they think about the actual writing. I'm working stylistically on it with a graphic design artist right now, and I still haven't decided what I'm going to call the book. I kind of had it tabbed as the ketogenic conspiracy, but there's not much of a conspiracy surrounding ketones per se. I could define it some other way, but my website was changeyourparadigm.com with slashes in it. It's currently down, so it might just simply be change your paradigm, because that's the whole point and principle of the book, is that weight loss or dealing with nutrition is so easy. It is so absolutely easy once you get your axioms rearranged. Once you say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I believed this all my life. That is wrong. Here, this person says this is right, and I did my research, and it looks like that's correct. And oh my God, look at all these people that this information has helped. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and change that axiom now. And all of a sudden, your choices become better. Well, they become correct. Why would you put poison into your body? If you were eating something your entire life and you had no idea it was poison, and somebody came up to you and proved to you that it's absolutely poison, would you ever touch it again? No. It's essentially what we're dealing with. So, anyways, that's not what today's broadcast is about. So, the book will be out here very soon. I really wanted it out on the 23rd. Symbolic numbers and such are important to me, but I will make this happen a specific way. And everybody who has supported me, it means so much, and I will be more than happy to shoot over a PDF at the very least. But once I get some books printed up, I'm going to take care of quite a bit of people who have supported me through sharing and through love and kindness and great thoughts and everything. So much love and respect to everybody. Seriously, it means a lot. I mean, I'm only getting 1,200, 1,500 views on most of these videos, but that's a lot of people. I can't walk outside my house right now and talk to 1,500 people, And so it means a lot to me that when I look at my comments, it's 99% positive. That means a lot to me. It means a lot. So, anyways, enough with all that. This is what we're going to get into today. Now, it's a clarification, kind of an addendum to my last video. Last video was a live broadcast, and I was, interacting with people in chat, and happy to do so. But I kind of misspoke on a couple things, and I want to make sure that you understand my perspective on this September 23rd. So on this night, or this morning rather, it was when the sun rose in Israel, the way it's put is that the Virgin was clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet, with 12 stars upon her head, pregnant, she travailed in birth. The child would rule them with an iron rod, and that it's the birth. It's that birth scene. Now, the child being Jupiter, the 12 stars, there are 3 planets in Leo. Leo is visually known, visually known for 9 stars. Even though there's many more stars in Leo, it's just known at the constellation has 9. So then when you add the 3 planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, which are it's very rare for them to even be in Leo too, together like that. So that's interesting. When you add those, you got your 12 stars upon your head, and then you've got Jupiter in the womb. Now, what makes it unique about Jupiter is that Jupiter's retrograde is usually 150 to 180 days. Sometimes it goes a little further. This time it was 200 66 days, I want to say, if it's either 260 or 266. Now, that is 9 months. Essentially, that's the gestation period of a child, a human child. So the virgin is born, I mean, excuse me, the virgin is pregnant, Jupiter's in the womb, it does retrograde within her womb, so to speak, the moon's at her feet. Everything seems to line up for what Revelations 12 said. And I'm just giving you a quick recap so that we can understand this a little bit further. Now, this happens. Here, let me back up. So every September, the sun is in Virgo. The moon will be at her feet. You've got 9 stars on her head, and yeah, it's the ecliptic, so you're gonna get planets come and go through that. Jupiter does retrograde, I believe, every 11 to 13 years. So there have been times over the past 7,000 years where this has come very close. We see there are some check boxes that people have to be satisfied. And I have a spreadsheet where me and several other researchers had gone through Stellarium and found every single day that this essentially was happening in the sky. And what's unique about this is it always got close. It always got close, but there'd be 11 stars in the crown. Or Jupiter was only in the retrograde for 180 days. Or, the moon was slightly up further. Things like that, right? And so to me, when I went down this path of research about 6 months ago, it was pretty significant to me. It was. Now, mind you, and I made this clear in my life, I am not a biblical literalist, okay? This is the difference that I think people might confuse, especially good Christian folks who may be listening to me. I think there is many interpretations of the book. I think there are many ways to look upon the stories of the Bible. And there is a consensus amongst biblical literalists of a lot of things. And that's great. That's fantastic. But you cannot put those views and beliefs and project them onto another person and judge people based off of those contrasts and then insist that somebody is not Christian enough or somebody is not a Bible believer enough, etc., etc. It's not right. Those tables can be turned at any moment. And those same judgments can be leveraged. And this is for anybody. This is for any person. This realm of spirituality and talking about God and talking about connection to God and the Holy Spirit and all of these things, this is serious. This is very serious for an individual. And there's no way that you can point people to the right direction, but there's no way you're giving this information to them. There just isn't. You can inform other people's positions. That's it. All I'm trying to do is share my perspective, trying to inform your position. That's it. I'm really only doing this today because one, I misspoke about one of the eschatological perspectives, and I want to clear that up. But two, I want to make myself clear. I want you folks to understand that I am on the side of Christ. This is where I had somebody actually question this. And of course, it's YouTube, and of course, this is the way it goes. But it's due to the fact that I don't accept the doctrines of biblical literalism. I was then questioned at this level about what masters do I serve, kind of thing. I'm blown away because we shall know them by their fruits. And based off of how I treat others, the way that I speak, the way that I treat myself, the way that I talk about the world, the fact that I'm even taking the time to make this video, that should be enough for you to discern the type of character I am and who I serve. Okay, so I just want to say that really quick. Because I'm not a biblical literalist does not mean that I am not a Christian. I absolutely, my entire, what's the word? My hero and the archetype that I look up to and judge everything off of is Christ. It is one of the most unique and amazing representations that we've ever had. It's absolutely true that this person is the way, is showing us the way, that they're showing us how to be connected with God. And if I have a different interpretation or perhaps a different doctrine concerning that, there's no reason to dismiss what I say. Just take what I say. You can either accept it or you can throw it out. But anyways, so the issue today we're going to be talking about is eschatology. So eschatology is the study of the end times, essentially. Apocalypse, Armageddon, what happens after death, these types of things, right? And within eschatology, there are several camps, several different ways to think about things. In essentially what we're going to be looking at here is doctrine. And this is something I really want people to understand. I'm going to be using this word a lot because you have to understand what that means, okay? You can take the literal words that are in the Bible and you can cross-reference it and you can find this and that's fantastic. But doctrine is taking a certain set of presuppositions and then filtering that thing through it. Okay? Let's get to that real quick. So, the historical Protestant, meaning protest, Protestant, the historical Protestant perspective from the church fathers was a eschatology called historicism. This was the view that what is being said in Revelation and in several other occasions, Thessalonians, etc., is speaking of the time, their historical position from 70 to 90 AD, essentially, and a little bit further, actually, because this is going into 300 AD, because that's when there was a tremendous amount of horrible violations against Christians then. And so the interpretation is that these things have already occurred. It's called historicism. That it's not about a second coming of Christ in the clouds in the future, but it's historical. And most Protestants believed this up until the 70s and 80s, mind you. And we'll get into that in a second. Okay. The next position that you hear quite often is dispensationalism. Now, this is the modern, this was promoted by Schofield with his Schofield Bible. This is the notion of a future rapture, a future tribulation, and a future antichrist. Those are the main factors, okay? And mind you, it is a presuppositional doctrine. Now, there may be ways to defend it through scripture. By all means, leave it in the comments, okay? But, so Schofield, we're talking about the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. He, in his Bible, that he put out, the research Bible, there were footnotes and whatnot concerning this particular eschatology, and it was being pushed on the Protestants. But still, even still, up into the 70s, it was not a popular view. Actually, Seventh-day Adventists, who they call them that because they believe that Saturday is the Sabbath, which I actually would agree. They oppose Rome at all costs, and they believe that the word Adventist means coming back. So they believe that Jesus is coming back at any moment. Now, they've had a couple false predictions in the past. They have a prophet named Ellen White, which I don't want to get into. And a lot of people have called them a cult. Now, mind you, I was raised in the Seventh-day Adventist family, and I learned a lot. I learned a tremendous amount about eschatology, the ones that they follow. And this is why I feel comfortable speaking on this subject. So please understand this. This is not from superficial research, that I picked up a couple weeks ago. This is something that I was very much a part of from age 10 until age 17. So it was past my formative years. It was in, my age of reason, so to speak, that I was evaluating these things. We were going to preacher meetings with, people doing 4-hour presentations, and this was about, they would talk about the end times, the 7-year tribulation, the Antichrist, what it's going to look like, who's the beast, who's the whore of Babylon, what is the cashless society, the RFID. They were talking about these radio frequency chips in 94. It was insanity. These guys were on it. But what the thing is this is a very conspiratorial mindset that existed back then with me that I observed. That I heard the words New World Order from them. Mind you, this is in 94. Well, of course, you got Bush Sr. saying it just a couple years prior on 9/11/91, saying that we will have our New World Order. So I'm not speaking from a perspective of ignorance. I understand eschatology on several different levels here, and I want you all to understand this. So anyways, dispensationalism, unfortunately, is not a unique idea. It's not. It's called futurism. Jesuit futurism. So Ribeiro, the creator of this doctrine, was a Jesuit priest, and as the Counter-Reformation, he was tasked to get the Protestants to stop calling Rome the Antichrist system, to stop calling them out as the bad guy, because this was all going down. Excuse me. And so you had Francisco Ribeiro. So let me go over a little bit of information here. So he started this futurist interpretation, publishing a 500-page commentary on the Book of Revelation. Ribeiro took the last week, quote unquote, the 7-day years of the 70-week prophecy of Daniel 9:25, divided it into 3.5-year periods, and applied it to a future Antichrist while avoiding an application to the papal system. You see, Antichristos meant after Christ, and so they simply called the Antichrist, well, the Pope, the Antichrist, essentially. Okay. So this man decided that he was going to defend the honor of Rome by saying, no, guys, don't worry about it. This is all happening in the future. This isn't happening, right now. No, the Antichrist is going to come. The 7-year tribulation down the road, blah, 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 blah. Well documented, no question. Absolutely, it exists. And this is where dispensationalism gets its perspectives from Rome. Jesuit doctrine, Jesuit priest, 1593. And it even gets better. The Hegelian dialectic was played. Bam, right there. You have something called preterism. Now, mind you, I was using the term preterism the other day because I was speaking to a preterist the week prior, and this gentleman had given me some good indication that it's essentially historicism. And I mean, that's pretty much what it is. If you look at it, preterism is, it means, I believe praetor, let me see here, get the exact definition here. But anyways, it means past, excuse me. Yeah, so the prefix denoting something as past. So the reason why I used this term the other day instead of historicism is because like I said, it was fresh in my mind. Preterism was created by a Jesuit as well, though. And this was Louis de Alcazar in 1613, roughly. So about 1614, it looks like. So within 20 years, this is all counter-Reformation. This is Rome and the Jesuits trying to find a way to deal with these Protestants getting their hands on Bibles, calling out the church, getting the information out, having their own belief system, freeing themselves from the tyranny of Roman Catholicism, rather the system of priests and control that they had. Okay, so preterism was created essentially as a way to play the Hegelian science. You had futurism and preterism. All the while, the Protestants were saying, oh, well, we're historicists. They're obviously the Antichrist. They're obviously the beast system. Look at them. Look what they're doing. It's terrible what they're doing. That kind of thing. And so that's where it left off. There are a couple other, specific things here and there, other eschatologies or eschatological views, but the main one being historicism, futurism, and preterism. And then, of course, dispensationalism comes from futurism. So you've got 3 Jesuit doctrines and 1 historical solid doctrine of historicism. Just let that sink in for a second. So how did we get to this point where modern evangelical Christians, modern Christians that exist within the West, how do we get to this point where they believe in a large part that there will be a rapture, either pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, and there will be a 7-year tribulation, etc., etc. How did we get here? Well, first off, Hal Lindsey comes into play. He was a preacher. Back in the 70s, he ended up writing a book. Let me get the book name real quick. And this book was called The Late Great Planet Earth. And so in this book, it's essentially dispensationalism, eschatology, and you could argue futurism. I mean, because they're that similar, okay? So he wrote this book, and 28 million copies had sold by 1990. There was even a movie narrated by Orson Welles that premiered in 1979. Wow, I actually didn't know that. Now, he cites an increase in frequency of famines, wars, and earthquakes as major events just prior to the end of the world. He also foretold of Soviet invasion of Israel, the war of Gog and Magog, and Lindsey also predicted the European Economic Community. Goes on and on and on. What this is essentially doing is they're trying to set up for the belief in a 7-year tribulation. Well, Lindsey didn't have that much of a success, not until the 80s, and then all of a sudden the Left Behind series came out. Now, the writers of the series, Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins. These were evangelical ministers, speakers, and authors who were essentially dispensationalists, but you could argue futurists, who injected this Jesuit doctrine back into the evangelical and Christian communities in a way that oh my gosh, we can't even comprehend, because their book empire, the Left Behind series, is bigger than Harry Potter's. Think about that for a second. Financially, bigger. That's because 70% of Americans are Christians. Once it caught fire, it caught fire. And that's what people begin to believe, because unfortunately in our society, entertainment informs the minds of the populace more than researching and figuring it out for themselves. But that's a presupposition. If you accept the doctrine of dispensationalism or the doctrine of futurism, then the filter that you begin to apply to the information that you receive is going to be skewed. People, we get what we look for. It's just that simple. So if my presupposition is that this is a future event, that this is going to happen in the future, then I'm going to find what I'm looking for. And I'm going to make this to be true in my mind. Unless you're contesting it and you're saying, how can I know? How can I know? And that's when you have to go back to your Bible and see if the scripture matches up with your doctrine. See if the inferences and the metaphors match up to the doctrine. And so, same with historicism too. I mean, you would have to go and read the book and find anywhere that it contradicts that concept and say, wait a second, was he really talking about the future? I don't know. Now, the reason why it's important to distinguish all these things and explain it is because the sign that happened in the sky is supposed to be what matches up with Revelation 12. And in a lot of people's assessment, this is supposed to be the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. Now, I don't see anybody getting raptured. Actually, we got a couple hours. Tomorrow is the day. Apparently, there was a 7-day warning. I've heard some people make the argument that it's a 7-day warning. Kind of like what happened with Noah and a couple others. Maybe. I don't know. A bunch of people get raptured tonight? Well, I'll eat my hat, I guess. I don't know. But the point is, this came in pass, but I do think it is significant. So please do not get me wrong. Do not get me wrong at all. The Bible is a massive foundation to our societies. There's no questioning it. And there's no uprooting that. Rome is the backbone. People don't like hearing it, or they wish to disagree, but all roads lead to Rome even still. You could argue they became an entity that a type of government that governs governments that govern governments. You know, they are something within themselves, and they have a very large ability to make change in the world, and they also have the large ability to make chaos too. It's just, if you understand this world, in even the smallest way, if you can see, all you have to do is look, you know. So what I'm trying to get at is, you have to be able to confirm this for yourself. Is this historicism, and they are possibly running the book like a playbook, or is this futurism, and these Jesuit these Jesuit counter-Reformation agents were totally right? Who would have thought? They were totally right. So this is something I'm asking, at the very least, to please do your research, especially if you're a biblical literalist, especially if you're someone, and I'm not questioning anyone's faith. I'm not telling people to do anything except for just read the text if it matters that much, because I have seen a lot of folks not take this information too well, honestly. And I am worried for my fellow Christian brothers. I really am, brothers and sisters. I don't want to get too deep into the metaphysical of it, but it's almost as if there was enough people who believe it's true, then it can, especially if the fiddle is being played, then this place can get really dark really quick. we just have to stay vigilant. I'm not denying these things happen. My perspective is just from a historicist perspective. I haven't seen good enough evidence that convinces me that futurism is the truth of the matter. I grew up with that. I grew up with these eschatologies. And first of all, they are terrifying when you believe them. When you believe that that's the truth of the matter. That should be an indicator right there that there might be something wrong with that. Now you could say the fear of it's neutralized by your faith in Jesus. Excellent. Okay, whatever it takes. But let's not kid ourselves. The bulls and the seals and all of the devastation and the am I gonna be raptured? Wait, what if I get raptured? My family doesn't. Oh my God. Did I believe on the death and resurrection the right way? Is this the way? All of these doubts that you will find many Christians still express these days, and they say, "Well, my faith gets challenged quite often, but I just have to push harder. No backsliding. I just got to keep just ignoring those questions. Because there are no answers for these questions, mind you, and I just got to believe on my faith and believe on I'm just saying I need stronger faith. So what I'm trying to say here is that an indicator of a correct filter? Because nothing within this futurist perspective, there isn't. If you think this stuff is always looming, then you can be put into fear, you could be manipulated, and we see a bunch of end time people on YouTube manipulating the hell out of people with their fear. So let's go back to the core of it. Is it historicism or is it futurism? Is it absolutely divine revelation of something that's supposed to happen down the road in our time? Or is it just simply an account of the times? Are the Jesuits right or are the reformers correct? Oh, and mind you, if you knew this or not, this is the 500th year of the Reformation. Or at least I heard that last night. Yeah, 1517. The 500th year of the Protestant Reformation. Protest. Remember this, guys. Look up the word ecumenical. Seriously, look it up. It is what the Catholic Church is trying to do is bring people back into the fold. What is the best way to bring everyone back in the fold? You get them believing on your doctrine of your interpretation of Revelation and Daniel and several other parts. I'm just saying, it looks quite like. It really does look quite like it. It looks like ecumenicalism, as if they are bringing the evangelicals back into the fold. And well, we've just got to make sure that this is correct. I believe that the question is test all things, find out what is true. So please don't question my faith, folks. Question my doctrine, question my perspective, sure. But I'm out here trying to give information to the people I care about. Okay? I'm not trying to confuse anybody. I'm not trying to do anything but explain something that I have gotten a hold of. I find this information to be quite compelling, especially in the times that we're going into. So Look, at the end of the day, I am just an artist. I am a philosopher. I'm a musician. I'm a writer. That's all I am. I'm not a theologian. I'm not, well, not officially. I'm not officially, you know, I'm not here to give you advice. I'm here to share my perspective. But I believe on it enough, and I've seen enough of it to know that, well, please find where I'm wrong. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that. I wanted to just make very clear what my my position was concerning all of this. It is, I think it's really important to understand what is going on. So please stay focused, stay vigilant, go within, learn what you need to learn, externally and internally, stay healthy, and just continue to take care of yourself and the other people around you. So until the next video, I'll leave you there. And thank you very much for listening.
The turning of the stars bring a time when my secret can give you immortality. But when that time is past, those fleeting minutes gone, the secret is worthless. Till once again the stars unlock its power.